Hello. Yeah, I don't know. I think making that other video might have done me some good. Talking about the CRPS, and I realized, that it's just always been my technique to downplay the whole thing. So that the whole thing about asking for sympathy or whatever, or like a particular dude saying I was feeling sorry for myself or wanting other people to feel sorry for me. Uh, that's kind of struck a chord in me because uh, that's not how I operate, or that's not how I deal with this, or how I function with this, if you can call this functioning. uh, is it's just exactly the opposite. It's like downplaying it all the time. And then even when I looked at the video that I made about CRPS, I realized I was still downplaying it. I didn't go into a quarter of the symptoms and the things I have to deal with, just because I made up my mind a long time ago that I wasn't going to focus on that aspect of my existence, that I was going to focus on other things like friends, family, developing whatever skills I have or whatever I can do. At the same time, if I was to go into detail, it's just sort of like a gross out geek fest. You know, it's like look at this, ugh, you know, ugh. It's just like it's like biting the head off a chicken for people. You know, um, um, I did think of something that might help people understand. I don't like to talk about the pain because everybody's pain's different to them. I got a niece that was in the army. She's tough as nails. She actually can get her teeth drilled without Novocaine. Whenever the dentist used to ask me, "Do you want to get your teeth drilled without Novocaine?" I'd just start laughing because I said, "Are you kidding? I don't like pain. I mean, that shit hurts." But my niece, just because she wanted to go out later in the evening and go out dancing or whatever the fuck, uh, she actually told him to drill her teeth and not shoot up her face and numb it, because she didn't want to go out and drill them on her. Oh, there you go. She didn't want to, how you get after you go to the dentist. But so, pain is relative. It's, you don't ever want to say that your pain is so horrible or anything like that, because it's horrible to me. That doesn't mean it's horrible to somebody else. I mean, tooth pain's horrible to me, but apparently it's not as bad as all that to my niece. So the point of all that is that I thought of an example of how profound and how different CRPS style pain is. Like I describe it uh, on the on my little video there as being roasted by invisible Apaches. Just because I think that's cute or it sounds good or whatever. And it is a burning neurological pain. But back to the example, uh, I had a two-step procedure done to me in 1986. This procedure included halo traction, which I think I described on another video, which is getting screws in your head and having, like, feels like a giant's pulling on your hair because you're getting traction from your head to straighten out your spine. And it's on these points, like right here, and right here. It's on 4 screws connected to your skull. So what you're talking about there, that sounds pretty bad. And I was like, well, screws in the head, you're getting your head yanked, and you got weights connected to a pulley system. And then that's just the beginning of it. They pull out a rib. They mulch up the rib. They did an incision on my hip. They did a long incision down my back, and they mulched up my rib and put it along my spine. They implanted a metal rod. I have no idea. I never really asked them how you can do that, but I imagine it's through the hole in the ribs. They put the metal rod in there along your spine, and then somehow or another I don't know, I used to have x-rays of it, which I lost, unfortunately, because I put them up. They're pretty cool. And you can see like the vertebrae, and then you can see the rod, and you can see these like connecting pieces that are either screwed into the actual bone of the vertebrae or they're connected some way. I don't even know. The point is, all that stuff happened to me. All that stuff happened to me. All them incisions, all those scars, the rib getting taken out, screws in the head, all that shit happened to me. But the first thing I said when I woke up in intensive care was, what the fuck did you people do to my legs? You were supposed to operate on my back, not my legs. The pain in my legs overrode all of that. You know, that was the thing. I was like, what the hell's going on? It seems like I'm on fire here. You know, roasted by invisible Apaches. So, you know, I'm in that varying degrees of that pain all the time, and I distract myself by writing and thinking, and that's why I write long, long posts, is because I can generate alpha waves in my head and concentrate on what I'm thinking about, what I'm writing about, instead of them little fucking Apaches with their spits roasting little pieces of my body. Yeah, I can, you know, it's really rough at night, you know, because at night when you got to sleep, there's nothing, you can't put nothing between you and that, you know. Uh, Even going to sleep watching TV or listening to the radio or listening to the baseball game, it doesn't work, you know. You have to do something active and something participatory. Passivity, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that, you know. I used to try to read until I went to sleep, and I know it was time for me to go to sleep when my eyes would start watering, you know. Like I was crying, but it was really just because I was so sleepy and reading so much that my eyes would start to tear up, and I was like, well, I must be able to go to sleep now. And I throw the book up on the bedstand, and then I'd go to sleep. I don't like to do that anymore for some reason. I read so much when I was younger. It's like I don't like to read much anymore. It's, you know, it's played out for me. So yeah, maybe at some point, you know, it's pretty nasty stuff. But maybe at some point, I was thinking I could show them like my foot. You know, why I made that joke, the CRPS red feet, because you get these. I think the words are erythematos, and the other word is cyanotic. And with, uh, I'll try to describe this to you, but it's kind of complicated. Your autonomic nervous system is like a yin and yang type of deal going on. You got your parasympathetic and you got your sympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is the one that controls the fight or flight response. Your parasympathetic system, it organizes things like digestion, and it's involved in sexual processes and whatnot. So you got this balance working inside your body all the time, like a yin and yang thing going on. And they used to call this reflex sympathetic dystrophy because they thought that it affected mainly the sympathetic system. You know, they don't really understand this, or really don't understand it very much at all, or what to do about it or anything like that. They have treatments for it, you know. But as far as cure, there's no cure for it in sight. And I don't really believe there's going to be any. I mean, they might find some kind of treatment that really knocks it back. I mean, I was on tranquilizers, this drug called Senequan, and then the generic was Doxepin. I was on that for like years, but you know, it had such a profound effect on me. I realized I wasn't having any kind of life. You know, I wasn't in as much pain, but what the fuck was I doing? I was sitting around watching TV. I'd wake up in the morning and take me 3 hours to drink a cup of coffee because I'd just be off in the ozone, you know. And you got to watch that opiate stuff when you're dealing with pain, because it's so addictive. And then when you go off the opiates, it's so hard to go off of it because uh, you just get hit, you just get slapped in the face by the pain. I mean, it's just like when you come off of that, even now when I'm smoking weed, sometimes when I sober up, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know, it's really hard not to run back into that purple haze. And the same thing with opiates. It's really hard not to run back in there and hide from this. But I've found, you know, that through the years that uh, that's really counterproductive. I mean, I've just from being a lazy asshole these last few months and not taking care of my body right, I've taken some losses. You don't tread water with this shit. There's no treading water. There's no hold and serve. You have to be actively and aggressively doing shit against it, or you're doomed. It'll just destroy you. So, you know, a lot of people, they end up with this. They end up on a morphine pump. I don't know if that's what it's called, but I never even considered that. But that's where it's like when you're in a hospital and you got that drip thing and you can just monitor how much you give yourself. I mean, I understand addiction, you know, but I'm not interested in becoming an addict. I have enough self-esteem issues. I don't need to, I feel like I'm worthless enough without just sitting around being high all the time. That's how I felt when I was on the tranquilizers. I was like, what the fuck kind of life is this? What am I doing? And anyways, well, my intent here was to sort of further explain what this is like, because I said in the other video, like, you're kind of like an alien, and it is like you're so different from everybody else that uh, people can't relate to it. You can't explain this in a couple of words. You can't explain. It's such a profound difference than, I had some time as a healthy person with an unaffected body, so I remember what that was like, and then I remember this, and there's no way I could go back in time and explain to myself, this is what this is. This is what your life is going to be in a few years here. You may want to jump out this fucking window over here. Go play in traffic, son. But yeah, uh, you know, it's hard to explain to people, and they don't relate to it. They don't understand it. My own family doesn't understand it. People that have known me for years and years, they don't get it. I have people that buy me shirts for presents. It's like, what the fuck are you buying me a shirt for? How often do you ever see me wear a fucking shirt? I don't say that to them. I just take the shirt and say, thank you very much. Do you have the receipt? I take this motherfucker back maybe and buy some Cheetos with the money. So, but no, I don't know about doing these here videos and things. Yeah, it's fun, but it always seemed kind of douchebaggy to me that people will get on here and they go worship at the temple of their own self, and just to get on here and talk about shit. But I'm not a 14-year-old girl, that's had no life experience, or somebody that's just doing their thing. I have something to talk about. This is something unusual. It's a different type of experience than what most people are familiar with. I've been through some things that people cannot comprehend. You cannot comprehend what it's like to go through that halo traction and go from 5'11" to 6'2". You don't think 3 inches is a big deal? I felt like I was freaking Wilt Chamberlain standing up. The first time I stood up, I was like, all these motherfuckers that have been hovering around my bed uh, for the last month while I'm in the process of trying not to die. All these people are short. I had these people all in my mind like they're all tall and shit. Like I seem to be taller than all these motherfuckers. So, that was it. See, what they do with the halo traction is before they put the rod in and set your back to where it's solid and it's not going nowhere. I'm getting cremated, don't you? Because I have to see if they can melt that fucking rod. So, that's in the will. You cremate my ass. I want to see if you can melt that fucking rod. What you gonna do about that, man? Am I gonna be in a pot and there's gonna be a rod? Where's this? There's gonna be a rod sticking up out of the urn. I imagine it gets pretty hot, but I don't know what they would do with that, if there'd be like clumps of metal after they burn me up in there. But hell no, that struck me as funny. So now I don't even know what I was talking about. But the procedure itself, in growing 3 inches in height. I'm 6'1" now because I settled back down. But I was 6'2" when I come out of the surgery. So, uh, like first they do a 2-step procedure. It's 2 surgeries, and there's like a 10-day interval in there where you go through the halo traction, and then they put in the rod, and then they put in they put in the fusion pieces first, and then the second step surgery they put the rod in there. But they took the rib out in the first surgery and they mulch it up, and then they put it along the spine, and then they put the rod in. Because once that rod's getting in there, ain't nothing moving. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of the fusion is. If you got the rod, I don't know if it's a redundancy system or what. I got no idea. At the time, I wasn't exactly asking, but So yeah, that's an experience that not many people have had. Growing 3 inches in 7 to 10 days. I think it was 10 days between the surgeries. I don't remember. I was high most of the time. I was uh, dancing with Mr. Morphine there for most of it. That's another thing is I got addicted to morphine. The first surgery that I had when they took the tumor out. See, they took the tumor out when I was 16, and the structure caused structural problems, which caused my spine to collapse. And then they did those two. I've had 3 back surgeries: 86, and then no 84 for the tumor, and then 86 for the 2-step procedure to repair the damage done to the first one. So I go in. It's kind of fucked up. It's like I'm not a lucky person, but I go into the first surgery, and they're like, well, you're probably going to be in a wheelchair, son. If you live, you're probably going to be in a wheelchair. You might as well get used to that idea. Your nervous system's been damaged by this tumor. So they take the tumor out, and I can walk. It's a big raging success. Uh, so, I was like, well, this is awesome. It's like, well, I wasn't expecting to be able to walk. And but the problem is when they took the tumor out, they had to take out a lumbar, one of the lumbar thoracic vertebrae, like a big vertebrae. And when they did that, yeah, my spine started to collapse. So, they're like, well, we're going to do what we can do to straighten you out, and to give you some structural support so those nerves don't get damaged and you don't die. Like I talked about in the other video with the nerves damaging the heart and the lungs. So, uh, that worked out too. They straightened me out really good and wasn't a hunchback anymore. And spine was, I had kyphoid scoliosis from the spine collapsing, which means I was a hunchback and, twisted to the side like an elephant man type of deal. So they straightened me out from that. And, all I ever wanted was to like blend in with people. Blend in with people, because you got to live your life as a hunchback freak. You ain't gonna have no kind of normal life whatsoever. Because you can't, you don't blend in. You're just your own family like looking at you like you don't blend in from that. So that's all I wanted. I was like, well, I'm gonna do this voluntarily, go in there and let them torture the living fuck out of me so I can blend in with other people because there ain't gonna be no life for me this way. Even if my spine don't collapse for 20 years, and I can live for 20 years, like there ain't gonna be no kind of life for me anyway. So I go through the surgery. The surgery's a success. And I come out of the second surgery with CRPS, which means that I can't wear a shirt. So I was a hunchback wearing a shirt before. I come out of the surgery and I can't wear a shirt. And I got CRPS. And there's still no blending in for me anywhere. And, not only, it really, like, it could have been okay. I could have just been treated like a freak or whatever. There's really no blending in with this because this sets you apart and alienates you because you have that different nervous system and you're living in a different world than other people because that's our link to the world, or that's what tells us the world and paints the world for us is our nervous system. And everybody else's nervous system is roughly similar, but mine got fucked with so heavily it just makes me different to the point where there's no fitting in anywhere with anybody with this. And I'm starting to perspire and shit, which probably means I'm aggravating my own condition by talking about it. It probably does me good in the long run to get this kind of stuff out of my system. And it is interesting, and it's a unique story. Um, as far as the disease, and I don't want to be gross or nothing and talk about the other things, that go with it. If you think that it's just a matter of not being able to wear a shirt, it's really not. Your autonomic functions control your heart rate, and control your digestion, controls urinary function to a degree, along with the sense of touch. And you can get exacerbations with this at any point and at any time. So you can be like relatively cool, and relatively fine, and then just I'm starting to do it now, but I'm not gonna. Then your body just goes nuts. It's called an exacerbation, and then it just gets aggravated, and sometimes you don't even know why. And You know, I can remember one time I tried to have a normal life and do normal things that other people do. So one time I remember I was in a strip bar and you know, I was playing pool. They had a little pool table in there, and I don't know what the hell happened. I had my sweet ass bomber jacket on, and I had on a shirt underneath that, and had a couple layers there. I had the ace bandage wrapped around there. I sweated through everything. I had to, you know, I opened the coat. I kept the coat on. I opened the coat. And I looked down, and I could see just looked like somebody threw like a gallon of water on my stomach, and I was like, well, it's time to go. You know, it's time for me to sit down and try to relax, and it's time to go. Somebody must have been aggravating me at pool or something like that. But you know, something like that can happen at any time, and so you kind of live in chaos. So you know, if there wasn't the severe pain and if there wasn't all that other stuff, there's still the total unpredictability of it. So a 9 to 5, or like the fella said about me going to school, like somebody with cancer, not really, not really going to happen, because at any point, any time, uh, it's so unpredictable, and just it's living. I realized a long time ago that I wasn't going to have any kind of life or any kind of normal life. You know, you can still have a life and you can still do things, but you're not going to have a normal life and you're not going to fit in with people. And they're not going to understand your deal. And if they do understand it, then you get the fucking sympathy, which I don't like. You know, don't feel sorry for me. You know, I don't want you to feel. I've always preferred contempt and scorn to pity and understanding. I don't like explaining myself to people. And if they don't understand me, they don't get me, then they can go fuck themselves. You know, that's just maybe I'm not a nice person. Maybe I like that or whatever. But I don't really care what you think of me, or you know, you haven't been through what I've been through, and you don't have the same nervous system as me. So why should I give a fuck what you how you judge me or how you care about me? You know, you, they say walking in other people's shoes. Uh, my shoes, you can't. I can't even think of a metaphor for it. There's no walking in my shoes, and you know, you can relate to pain and you can relate to suffering, and you can see that, well, this guy's been through some profound shit. That doesn't mean you can understand it. You know, that's like me going up to Stephen Hawking and saying, "Look, buddy, I understand. That's rough, man. That must be rough being you." That'd be the most arrogant, fucked up, stupid thing to do in the world. I can do things that that fucker can't do. So, you know, I don't want Stephen Hawking getting on me saying, "You are an asshole." Yeah, you know, because that's kind of assholish. I mean, I don't do that to anybody. I don't tell people like, "Wow, man, you know, it's really hard for you. It's really rough." You know, what the fuck do I know about being you? I know nothing about being you, man. You know, I don't know if you're if you need my sympathy. I don't know if you or what your deal is. You know, uh, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I don't know what to say about it. You know, I kind of draw a blank on it as far as like, I don't want people to. I don't really care if people relate to me or not. You know, but I don't like, you know, like the dude brought up the thing about like people saying you could do this and you can do that, and people with cancer go to school and all that stuff, and it just strikes a chord with me, because it's what I've been hearing for 25 to 30 years from people who got no clue about this disease, don't understand what it is, what it does, don't understand the severity of the neuropathic pain. They don't understand it, you know, so they're telling me I can do shit, and they don't have clue one about what it is to be me or what it is I go through. So, you know, and another thing is like people didn't believe me when I told them I was in pain. So they don't believe that they still, no matter how fucked up I look, they still don't believe that I can't do these things, or they still don't believe my own experience of what I'm telling them, you know, and that's what screwed me up in the first place. Is I just said, look, I'm hurting and there's pains in my legs and stuff, you know, and people were like, well, the doctors themselves were like, that's growing pains, go home, boy. You know, when I'm 13 or 14, and you know, my parents would send me to a chiropractor to get back adjustments while I got a tumor growing in me. So, you know, that's a story of my life, is that people don't trust what I have to say about me. you know, which sounds ridiculous when you put it that way, but it is ridiculous. And people believe what they see, but I'm not going to, at this juncture, man, you know, I'm not going to show you my foot or my leg. You know, I'm kind of worried they're gonna cut off. Well, let me tell you a story. I'm already on 25 minutes, but let me tell you a story. So I'm going to the hospital before I got diagnosed with RSD because my foot is like purple and black. It's looking really bad, you know. I don't know what's going on with me, but it's hurting and I can't take it, you know. And I wanted to take me to the hospital. I couldn't ride in the car, so they called an ambulance. And it's like use it like a taxi. And so the ambulance driver looks at my foot. He's like, this guy actually said this word for word. He said, the last time I saw a foot like that, they had to cut it off. Did that scare me a little bit? Mm-hmm. It scared me a little bit. And, you know, I'm not going to show you what my foot looks like. It looks a little better than it used to. At that time, I was bedridden and was having trouble walking, so I wasn't getting any exercise. It wasn't getting any blood and stuff. But that is something I think about. I got, you know, that show House where he's in, got muscle. He had a muscle death. You know, I got a lot of atrophy on my left leg, so I kind of worry about whether they're gonna have to cut off, whether they're gonna have to amputate my left leg below the knee. I mean, it's a fear of mine. But at that time, I turned that into a positive. That stupid ass ambulance driver said that, which was totally unnecessary and scared the fuck out of me. But I turned it into a positive because when I went to the hospital and I got diagnosed, then they put me on steroids to try to help me recover. And that stayed in the back of my mind. The guy told me that my foot actually looked like one that he saw, but they took the guy to the hospital and they chopped it off. So, you know, I don't even know where I'm going with all this stuff. It's such a collage of misery and pain, those years in my life, that I really can't even keep it all straight. You know, I know all of it happened, and I got the marks on me that prove that it happened. But as far as like keeping it all straight and keeping it in some kind of chronological order, man, it's just like a messed up collage of pain and misery inside me. So, uh, you know, I really can't describe all of it. But it's been years and years now, so maybe it's time to talk about it or to let people know. And like it's put me through so much misery as far as like people expecting things out of me or not believing me, just never believing me that this is what this is, or don't even trust me to talk about my own experience. Um, you know, I thought maybe that if I talked about this to people, or if I was open instead of the secretive, aloof asshole, you know, like I said on the post the other day, it's like you got a choice. You can be a guy looking for sympathy and feeling sorry for yourself just because you're talking about your life, or you can keep your fucking mouth shut and you can be considered aloof, secretive, arrogant, antisocial prick. That's your choices. But I think maybe the time has come for me to talk about this a little bit. So, you know, if somebody else has this and they have to go through what I went through with all those people that don't understand it, telling you what you can do and what you can't do, and all that shit. You know, maybe somebody will benefit from me rehashing all this misery, because I'm thinking maybe, you know, I'm a pretty memorable person. Uh, in person, it's even more overwhelming, you know. But I think people would remember this story, and I think people will remember me. And if they remember me, and then they run into somebody else that's suffering through this, and this happens to a lot of kids. It happened to me when I was a kid. You know, there's videos on this site on YouTube of kids talking about it. You know, and that's a lot of pain to put on the kid, to have them go through something like this is bad enough, but have them not to be understood. And a kid can't articulate the way I can articulate, the way I can describe. So that, you know, they just tell you they hurt, you know, or they just tell you, like when I was a kid, they just tell you like, look, I got some pain going on, you know, or this is happening, but they don't have the verbal ability or uh, mental power to articulate that, and I do. So, if it spares some young kid going through what I went through as a kid, then it's a worthwhile thing to me. Right now I'm just, yeah. Let's see. I don't know if it'll even show up, but yeah, right now this part of my belly, sweat, sweat just running out of me, and that's an exacerbation. It's an exacerbation from the emotional stress of bringing all that stuff to mind. And even though, like I said, there's echoes inside people, even though that all this stuff is dealt with for me and shelved away, it's like any memory that you have, the more you remember it and the more you dwell on it, the more power you give it. So you can actually stir up stuff inside yourself that's better left alone. Like let those sleeping bitches lie, let them sleeping dogs lie. But I don't know. I found some satisfaction out of doing that other one. I wasn't expecting to. I just wanted people to understand something. I was just hoping to uh, help people to understand what this is because, like I said, MSMD people know those acronyms. They don't know CRPS. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it does. They know Parkinson's disease. They know this is an unusual thing. And because before the internet, man, nobody knew what this was. Doctors, I'd go to a doctor and they're like, "What's that?" And I'd explain it to them. You're fucked. You're fucked if you're explaining to your doctor what's wrong with you, and they don't know what it is. I mean, not talking about explaining symptoms, but explaining the disorder and the disease. What are they going to do for you if they don't know it? If they don't even know what you got or what it is or know anything about it, they don't have any knowledge about it. What are they going to do for you? I'll tell you what they're going to do for you. They're going to send you home and give you some drugs and say, bye bye, please don't come back. Doctors are not happy to see. Doctors are not happy to see somebody they can't treat. They're not happy to see somebody where they don't have any answers for them. And yeah, me and the medical community, we parted ways a long time ago because of that. I haven't been to see a doctor in maybe 50, I don't even know how long, 15, 20 years. They didn't have nothing for me, They couldn't do nothing for me. They could give me drugs. They could be my dealers and give me drugs, or I got sent to rehabilitation units, to Cleveland Clinic pain unit. That's where I met the other guy who had RSD. He was there, and they give you techniques for trying to deal with chronic pain, you know. But really, they can't do nothing for you. If they can't do nothing for you, why should I go aggravate them? Have them aggravate me? So I check websites and stuff periodically to see if they can help me. But again, I'm just rambling. I'm not getting to the point. The point is that I'm doing this again because I thought the last time satisfied me in some way, and it is a good thing, I suppose, to put the information out there so people maybe can understand this stuff a little better. And the main thing for me is there's no reason for somebody to be tortured physically and mentally. It's bad enough to go through something like this, and then to have people tell you could go to school, or you could do this, or you could do that. It's bad enough sitting here with sweat just running off your arms, and the funny, there's so much to it. It's just hard to explain. But an example of the deal with your legs, and there's so much going on there, and there's so much noise there that you really don't feel with normal sensation, because it's like tuning in a radio on AM and you got all that static and you can't hear what the fuck is going on. So there's once I stepped on a tack on my kitchen floor, and I felt something, but I just kept walking because I feel pain all the time. What the fuck? I feel pain all the time. So I'm walking across the kitchen floor with this tack in my foot, and I walk over to the sink and I look back and there's a trail of blood from the little drops of blood. And I was like, what the fuck? And I reached down and I pulled the tack out of my foot. That's one example. Another example is I haven't done this in a while, and it hurts, and I don't want to do it. But I'll sit with my legs crossed, and sometimes I'd forget that my legs were crossed because there's a thing called proprioception that it's your body telling you where it is, and mine's interfered with. So from I don't know, from say my legs down, I'm just getting a bunch of random noise on my legs. I can't tell where my legs are in space and time, you know. So I'll be sitting there with my legs crossed for a real long time, and I used to forget to uncross them because I would just wouldn't think about it. So I'd try to get up with my legs crossed, you know, and just boom, down I'd go. Or I'd go flying across the room. One time I went flying across the room like that. That was really painful. And you naturally put your arms up to protect yourself when you're doing that. So I get up with my legs crossed, forgetting they're crossed, and I go flying across the room, and there's a corner wall piece right there, and I put my arm out, man, right into that corner of that wall with my arm. All that pressure on that, that hurt like a bitch. And another story that explains the weirdness or the complete oddity of this disease would be it's wintertime. I'm in Ohio, and I'm walking around downtown, and I'm standing there at waiting to cross the street, and I'm like, what the fuck? The world seems to be getting taller. Now the world wasn't getting taller. I'm on the ice like this, and my legs just start sliding across like this, and the world's dipping down. I'm dipping down, and I'm not even knowing why because I can't feel my legs right. So I don't even know what the hell's going on. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? The world seems to be getting taller. I seem to be getting shorter. But yeah, this is bordering on ridiculous now. So this is like about 36 minutes, and there's so much weirdness and oddity inside me because of living like this and just because of my nature as a wordsmith and somebody that lives in a world of words, it's like I have to rein myself in. There's so many stories and so many things, and I'm not young, uh, so I'm just gonna stop here abruptly. You know, and I hope this had some entertainment and educational value for people. It just wasn't. I don't want to, just gross people out or make them wince. You know. But at the same time, how you react to me is how you react to me. So that's your thing. That's you're a free person. If you want to say ooh, or you want to click this off, if start talking about gross shit, it doesn't matter. You know. Uh, Anyways, and I might do this periodically because it is somewhat satisfying and it's maybe good in a way because a lot of people can see this. And like I said, yet again, I'll repeat myself one more time. Is if that helps somebody else not have to deal with the emotional bullshit that I've had to deal with in my life. And if somebody it can spread a little bit of understanding about what people go through with this, then that's all gravy, baby. Bye bye.